We can go. I just wanted to get myself. All right. You ready, Mike?
You ready?
All right. Call the meeting to order. If everybody could stand. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Can we get a roll call, Madam Auditor?
Councilmember Rivas.
Here.
Councilmember Bozick.
Present.
Councilmember Brickner.
Here.
Councilmember Graham. Councilmember Jessup. Councilmember Paparad. And Councilmember Sims.
Present.
And accounted for.
5 present.
All right. We got a quorum. We're a little short-handed, but we'll be all right. You gonna sit in?
Yes.
All right. So we're here to start second reading. Try some things a little bit different this year. Speed things up. We're just gonna really open up the budgets that have changes, proposed changes, and we'll try to fast track all the other ones. So, but first on up, Sheriff. Come on up. We'll, Sheriff's General Fund. It's in the red, looks like. So we'll have. There's a change in it. So I'll pull it up, see what we have changed. Looks like there's just, an increase to the general fund just by $3,825, is that correct?
An increase to the general fund.
Which, the sheriff general fund?
Mm-hmm.
Not including what I proposed.
Right, this is just that one location.
Yeah, looks like a mandatory raise there, that's all for the general fund. Yes,
But
Matt?
keep in mind, you directed departments to submit
I
the same
understand.
budgets unless mandatory raises and to put their requests on the additional forms.
But there's nothing in your, requests that would,
Not for this.
it's not in the general
Not for
fund.
this fund.
Right. So,
There's no-
you got the sheriff's general fund in front of you with an increase, a mandatory increase, $3,825. Questions, discussion?
Are you taking motions or how are we?
All of
Yeah,
your proposals.
we'll approve them.
This is what he's looking at.
It's just
My motion,
this
yeah.
one, there's no increases in.
Well, I'd make a motion to accept.
There's a motion to approve the general fund with the increase.
Second.
And a second discussion on the sheriff's general fund.
Seems all in order to me.
Yeah. Scott, you think we need a roll call on these, just?
I think we could do
That's voice. All in favor of the sheriff's general fund signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, guys, and this is where we're gonna kind of fly through. I mean, you guys can stop me if there's changes. Accident report, 1101, the same. County extradition fund, 1155, the same. Firearms training, 1156, the same. Medical inmates, 1174, the same. Riverboat money, 1191, the same. Sex and violent offender fee, 1192, the same. Sheriff's pension fund, the same, 1193. Vehicle inspection, 1208, the same. County user fee sheriff, continuing education, 2504, the same. County user fee sheriff, 2505, the same.
Actually, that went down.
Which one?
2505 went 57 down.
Right.
All right. Well, how about the other ones? Maybe we get a motion to approve all the other ones, and we can open that one up real fast.
I'd make a motion to approve everything 2504 and up on this list. Do you need me to list them all?
Sounds good. Nope,
Okay.
I listed them.
They're all-
So there's a motion to approve everything I just rattled off.
Second.
Second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So what are we opening? County user fee, 2505.
4907.
Find it.
Says move to 4907. What's that mean?
Yep. So we took some salaries out of this fund and moved them into our data processing fund because there's more money. This fund doesn't bring in enough money to support those salaries anymore.
I don't see 4907. Where's that?
It's under a different location.
Yeah, it's red. It's we'll get
Oh,
through
we're
it a
getting
little
there,
bit.
okay.
Yep.
I'd make a motion to accept.
A second.
The motion is second to approve county user fee.
Wait,
Yes. Discussion?
should be it. Where are we at? Okay, we do need to increase the FICA number, though.
So they're just approving.
To $4,919. Yeah, for the salaries, hourly, and overtime. That's too much of a reduction there.
The reduction on FICA is too little, she's saying.
Where's my copy? If we're keeping those salaries.
Excuse me.
Oh. Where the hell did that come from? Yeah.
What's the math work out to?
Pardon me?
What's the math work out to? 7.65 of,
Yeah. 4,919.
okay.
So we could just change that.
So I'm sorry, what are we changing, just the
The
FICA?
FICA.
Will be 4,000.
Yeah, 919.
There's a big number.
Purpose of.
Right.
So you want to amend the motion?
I'd make an, yeah, amend the
Unless
motion.
they move the FICA
To
to
accept.
4907, but they need
Right.
two more.
Second it.
Oh,
It's better we caught it now.
yeah. It's good. Yeah,
We're good?
We're good.
Okay.
So the motion is for 2505 county user fee sheriff for $53,679.
Correct, that was my motion.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Drug task force. Looks like there's a little change here too. Looks like it's down $1,197. Is that right? So, a little change, a little decrease.
Is that FICA okay?
No, it should stay at what it is, 5916.
So the budget should stay the same?
No, FICA.
FICA.
Which would keep that budget the same, yeah.
Oh,
Would there be no reduction, so,
all right.
So just,
Yeah, so I'll make the motion on 4010.
second.
as the same?
Yep.
Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Sheriff donation, looks like, sheriff donation 4108, sheriff overweight vehicles 4201, the same. Videotape fee 4908, the same. Photo duplicate 4910, the same.
So moved. Accept them.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All those the same, the second. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Porter School Resource Officer, there's some change in here. What do we got going on? It's like an increase in medical life and perf, $4,823.
Yep, we were looking to make the increases that came through from the commissioners about the change in the cost of healthcare.
Does the schools take any of that on?
They take it all on. This is completely reimbursable.
Thank you.
Yep.
Make a motion, do we have that already? Motion, please.
The motion to approve
This is an
Porter Township
increase.
School Resource
Second.
Officer,
Second.
4923, second. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Porter County Sheriff Highway interdiction, 4925, and DEA proceeds grant, 8118. Looks like they're the same. Correct?
Yep.
So assuming that that's on hold.
Let's make that
Make the
motion.
motion to accept.
Is a motion to accept, keeping them the same.
Second.
Second. Discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, jail, general fund. It's like, that's staying the same too, right?
Yes, that's what it shows here.
Just a little bit of flopping around, switching some numbers, but the numbers the same. And county corrections, the same. So those two numbers, the bottom line are the same.
I'll make the motion on both.
Motion,
Second.
second on,
So it's good.
Those two, discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Everything all right? Oh, gotcha. All right, where we at now? Public safety data, looks like that's where you had some changes. There's an increase, $53,008. This is where you moved the other ones to,
Yes, sir.
from 2505, so looks like there's a decrease data processing down here.
Did we change the FICA now? Because they didn't move. Or am I thinking wrong?
No, this one's okay. This one's good, yes.
Okay.
Well, she was moving 5667 to 4907, and you've now changed it to 4919. Shouldn't it be at the 4919 less on this one? No? Okay,
No,
thank you.
no.
We got the number in front of you for public safety data tech, $368,848.
Why did we move it to this one? Just more money in it?
Yeah, it's able to support those salaries ongoing, long-term.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion a second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. All right, inmate processing fee.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Mr. President, are we tracking these numbers to see what our increases are? That doesn't affect our general fund, so we're not.
Yeah, none of this is so
So,
far
okay, so
general,
we're not-
just the
Thank you.
sheriff and the jail.
Yep.
So,
We're making all the
yeah.
changes, yeah.
Thank you.
so, all right. Where are we at? Inmate processing. There's a change, looks like an increase of $3,992.
That's for the insurance. Again,
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion a second. The increase for the insurance. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Where's the increase? I don't see the increase on my book. Am I looking at something? Oh, I'm missing the first page. Thank you. I see it.
The SCAP grant, 815, the same.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, sheriff adult, right, what did I miss here? Okay, yep. Sheriff adult community corrections, looks like there's a decrease of $23,776. All right,
I think you skipped the addiction response grant.
I did. Let's move back up. Addiction response grant, there's an increase of 12,000. Sorry.
It's new, yeah.
You guys got another grant?
That's the
Yes, thank
Sims
you.
grant, yes.
So moved.
It's a motion in front of you.
Yeah, didn't you know that? Second.
Second,
Why not?
discussion.
I gotta second that one.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. All right, now, sheriff, adult community corrections, looks like there's a decrease. Is that right or no? Look,
Where are we at?
$23,776.
Yes. That is to cover,
Decrease in salaries, FICA, and perf.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
decrease.
because we have applied for that to be covered through that grant, but they have not approved it. So we didn't want to have to come back and change it again. We went through this earlier this year.
All right, there's a decrease. The number's $253,497 for sheriff adult community corrections.
I'll make the motion.
Motion,
Second.
second, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Sheriff adult, probation, community corrections, looks like pretrial's the same, sheriff garage the same. Those two are the same.
Pre-trial went up. $100. Not a big increase.
Sheriff garage, what we got, sorry, all right. Sheriff garage is the same.
Did we do the pretrial?
Yeah, I missed, oh, look,
Yeah, 9164, pre-trial adult probation. It's a 1996 increase for medical life insurance.
Right there.
all right, you're right,
Really flew ahead.
you're right, all right. Adult probation, yep, for the pretrial
Yes.
increase.
Make a motion on the increase.
Second.
Motion and a second on the increase to the numbers, $70,502. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Sheriff garage is the same.
Excuse me.
I see one fund that we missed, the the foundation budget, 4922.
I don't see that in
Yeah,
here.
that's gonna be on October 7th,
And the
when that
foundation.
big budget comes up.
Okay, sorry.
All right, Sheriff's Garage, can we pass that one?
Yep. So moved.
Motion? Be difficult to get anybody to make a motion up here
Tires and
today.
everything, nothing's changed. That's awesome.
We're working on it.
Wow.
Those electric cars are just going.
Well, no, but rubber, I mean,
Yeah, no,
they
I-
burn through tires and brakes and all that. Sucker's
You
expensive.
wanna make it, you wanna help me out here, Mike?
We need a second.
Second.
Second, oh.
Discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. All right, Federal Department of Corrections prisoners. Here we go, it's gonna show a reduction here of $87,746, but that's what's shown, but I think Sheriff, if you wanna go ahead and get into a little presentation here, what you got, what you're doing with this fund.
Well, I met with, Zoomed you, talked to you, we've talked more than once. So you obviously know my position, and I appreciate you trying to work this out. You know, this has been a long process that started with a conversation with the county attorney, asking me for a plan to come up with money to fund our cars. And that's always, we have a lot of issues every year, that's important. So I'm not saying cars are the most important or not important, but cars have always been an issue with, the commissioners, even the previous commissioners, it's always been an issue. So I wasn't really sure how I was gonna come up with a plan that was gonna cover $350,000. But one of the thoughts was to revisit the inmate processing, not processing, but the inmate per diem. And so we located a company that I thought gave us a pretty good proposal, and so we didn't know what we were gonna get. They were very confident, but you know, dealing with vendors, sometimes, you know, they always, you just never know who's telling the truth and who's not. So, but just so you understand, and everybody else in this room understands, when we agreed that we were gonna do this, the first arrangement and agreement was with me and the commissioners. And we passed an ordinance, and I think it's important for the decision you're about to make, because I know it's gonna be a difficult decision. But I think you need to understand what this ordinance says. The ordinance passed in July says that after 50 inmates, federal inmates, I get the money. And I can put that money to employee benefits, costs for jail employees, employees of the Porter County Sheriff's, equipment, office supplies, vehicles, training and education, ammunition, police pension, uniforms, body vests, salaries for jailers, and for employees. So I'll repeat that. It says salaries for employees. So, of the Porter County Sheriff's Department, and it's signed by every commissioner, and Vicky. So, you know, I know today when we met, we came up with a lot, you're trying to figure out different options, you know, that's fair and equitable for every employee, and I get that. You know, but every year I come in here and fight for our guys, and we get raises, and we appreciate that. And the raises you give us go to everybody, and I'm good with that. Now, this year I knew it was gonna be tough. I mean, I know, I studied the budget, I know it's gonna be tight. We came up with this proposal that will cover everything I just mentioned. Vehicles, training, education, ammunition, vest, police pension, and 5% raise for our merit guys. And a bump for the sergeants and lieutenants in the jail, which is about $20,000. we're not here because of the bump with the jailers, and we're not here for me paying the cars. We know where the issue is. The tough issue is the 5% for you, not for me, is the 5% for the men. But, you know, you just need to understand, you know, my discussions with Councilman Brickner have been good because he's asked some good questions. But in comparing us to the counties in this state, you have to realize that we're the 10th largest county, we're the 13th fastest growing county of the 92, and we're here. We're not in central, southern Indiana, we're in the region. The region gets a bad rap sometimes, but we all know where we're at. And one of our missions, you know, when he was the police chief, when I was the police chief, and I'm the sheriff, the mission is to keep this county safe. People move into this county because they want to live in a safe community. They want their kids to grow in safe schools. They want to raise their family in a safe environment. And they have it here. And that doesn't just come by happenstance. And then when it becomes the pay increases for law enforcement, then all of a sudden it becomes an issue. Well, you know, we got to compare this to that. You know, it's going to be hard for us. But you can't compare us because we work 24/7. And take away COVID. COVID was terrible, and it's still terrible. And it's still a stress and pressure in the jail, but even on the street. They don't know who they're coming up every day. And, you know, and I just go back to the most important thing. You gotta ask yourself this. Do you believe that Porter County is a safe county? And look where we're located. I mean, think about that. And that doesn't come by happenstance. That comes from collaboration between us and Valpo and Portage and all our law enforcement. But we are the leaders of the county, and they need to be compensated. If you look at the pays which I've sent you, we are well paid in comparison. Not that much, but we're there. But that didn't come by happenstance either. That came by a lot of hard work on our part to make sure that they're paid adequately. And they deserve it. And so for me to say here, 5%, and it puts us just in the ballpark with Portage and Valpo. And, and I mentioned when I've texted you and I've emailed you, there's and I'm not saying we're involved in the defunding police, but the interest of becoming police is not the same that it was when I first came in, even 10 years ago. If I had one opening, I had 150 applicants. Just recently, we had an opening, we had 28 applicants, 14 people showed up. Okay, so obviously we are who we hire. Now, we did end up with some good candidates, but it's a struggle, and it's so competitive. I'm trying to get them, Portage is trying to get ours, Valpo, and that's just how it's always been, but it's tough. It's tough. So that 5%, when you make your decision, and hopefully you make a motion, that you got to keep that in mind, that we are competitive, that we are going against the state police, Michigan City, LaPorte, Lake County, Hobart, Crown Point, Munster, the suburbs that are paying their guys. And if you compare us, we're there. But we got to stay there. So you can't jeopardize or blame us. Well, these guys you're making as much as them. Yeah, because we've been fighting for it. But everybody in this room knows they deserve it. I mean, they do deserve it, and they deserve it. And so, I know this is going to be difficult, that 5%. And as I said earlier today, if I didn't put the 5% in here, we wouldn't even be here. You'd be taking my money. So, are you going to weigh that you're going to not take my 5%, give me my 5%, but you'll take my money for my cars, you'll take my money for the pension, you'll take the money that you're obligated to pay for it anyway. And I don't think that's going to happen. And I know
it was also said that you're gonna make a decision that is the right decision. And whether we get it and, nobody else gets it, I mean, I sat in this room when the highway department got a sizable raise, and they deserved it. And we didn't, no, there was not one policeman that said, oh my God, the highway department got a raise. They deserved it. So that's good, and we deserve it. And I just hope that when you make that decision or make a motion, that you keep that in consideration.
All right, Sheriff, I appreciate what you do, appreciate what all your guys do, ladies. And we have, the salary comparison, as far as I can see right now, we are the leading department right now in Porter County for pay. And it's taken some work to get there, right? We've got you there. We try, and you know this, every year we give raises, we try. We have last year in the middle of a pandemic where Valpo was given 0, Hobart was given 0. We gave 3.5 on average to everybody. We didn't blink then. So we've given raises every year. We've put you in the position to be the leading department, for sure. I think we probably want to keep it that way too. So, but I think probably for tonight, I don't, from my gathering from the council is, we're not gonna vote on raises tonight, from what I gather. We're gonna wait, just like always, that's nothing new. We always wait till either a special meeting or the last, meeting, so, there's still some figuring out to do. I've heard you loud and clear. We've talked, you left, so, I met with the sheriff earlier, Mike, and Mike, we've talked, I know he's contacted, you guys have all seen this presentation. There's a lot we have to think about, this isn't easy. I've been involved in a lot of negotiations with contracts. I've never approved a 5% raise for a group, never,
It's always the first time.
never,
Didn't
so.
we get close to it the first year I was on the council?
We've probably been close here,
I'd say we did-
I'm
we
saying
did
even in the
pretty
private
close. The 2 years
sector.
I was on the council, we gave them increases.
I've
too.
never,
So, I mean, just in all fairness, we are appreciative of everything you guys do. And, I mean, we have been able to do things in the past special for you guys to get you increases. And, in my opinion, right now, we need to get through this huge book before we can discuss that. We need to get through all these other budgets and see what money's left. I'm not saying I'm against it by any means, but I think, in my opinion, again, it's just one vote. We need to look at all this stuff before we can talk about that.
Well, but we also have to keep in mind that this money is coming from a different area too. It's not coming out of the general fund. This is coming,
Yeah,
so
but
keep
it's
that in mind. That's all I'm saying is, this is a unique situation.
It's a
you know.
county building though, so.
I
it
get
is
that.
coming out of the general fund. The money does go to the general fund.
Well, but it wouldn't be available unless you got that increase for that per diem. So your hard work, again, I'm not saying which side I fall on, but I'm just trying to put everything out there so everyone understands. This is a very unique situation, and, I struggle too with, if you guys do end up with this raise, or some form of raise and others don't, I have to go out there and I always justify my position, and I try and do what's right no matter what, no matter, politics aside. And there are a lot of other departments, and I was talking to one earlier, every department sitting in your shoes is gonna say the same thing. My people need a raise and this and that, and that's tough it's tough for me to, because I like everybody, and I appreciate everybody, and this is an unbelievably awesome county, and you want to give everybody a raise, like one of my little compadres back there had indicated earlier, I don't know, I just, again, just throwing it out, but we gotta keep in mind, this is a different situation, that's all,
Well, but every department doesn't have the opportunity to raise revenue like they do, so it's.
Makes it unique.
But is that fair? I mean, you've got other departments that can't raise revenue, so how would they come in for a 5% increase? Just something to think about.
Yeah.
Not, again, saying I'm not saying I'm against it.
Sheriff, as always, you articulate your stance very well. And I think one thing that the county, and I agree, that we need to have a paradigm shift on how we distribute our money, and it should be based on job. And it should be like that, should have been like that, at least that's my thought. It's not, across the board raises are nice, but you know, to look at what is each individual's job, and you pay by the job. And there's no question that, you know, might be biased, but no question that, police do a specific job and should be paid accordingly. And that's the direction that we're going.
Thank you.
You know, Sheriff, I appreciate your passion and your conviction for your department, and it shows in terms of the people that you've hired for the department. I mean, we've got a terrific group of people that we should all feel very proud to have and be very thankful for. I don't think anyone would argue that public safety today is the most critical area that we should think about and focus on and also appreciate, because the times are tougher now than they've ever been. And I don't see that getting any easier anytime soon. In fact, the opposite is probably true. So, you know, I'm you know, here to say that we are in a tough spot, because I know, based on the previous meeting, roughly, we're anticipating an additional $800,000 roughly that we feel comfortable in increasing our expenses. And I know what was submitted was in the area of over $2 million in requests. So we are in a tough spot to try to figure out how we're gonna make $800,000 go to turn into $2.3 million. And I also do understand that the money that you've created, which I appreciate your creativity, to say, hey, if I'm gonna increase expenses, I'll also increase revenue to keep things balanced and take care of your department. But we do have to, I think it would be prudent to go through, you know, all of the requests. And then as we have in previous years, we've handled the wage component at the end. And I would also, to echo Councilman Brickner's sentiment, to say that I don't think the way we've handled wages in the past has been right, where we say, how much do we have to increase the budget? And then we ask ourselves what's left to divvy out among the people. I mean, that's not the way to set wages. It should be based on jobs. It should be based on job descriptions, responsibilities, and the value that the different positions bring to the table. And one of the things that we've discussed, and I'm hopeful that we will venture into as soon as possible, is to do a comprehensive analysis of where our wages are throughout the entire county. Because I would suggest that in my almost 7 years at this council, we have had, and we have today, positions that are woefully underpaid. And I would say, in large part, I would throw public safety into that mix. And we may also have some people that are overpaid. Less likely, but there certainly may be. And then we go through this process every year of saying, take the wages out of your budget, we'll cover them at the end, figure out what's left, and then divvy them out among the employees. And we've done that for years. And every year we have different departments coming up saying, I need special raises because the wages aren't right. And I would say that those, I think we had more people ask for special raises this year, more departments, than we've had in the past, because they're not right on a variety of different, in a variety of different departments. So I think this analysis that we need to do, and it's a comprehensive analysis, it's a 9-month process, and it goes department by department, position by position, and it takes the guesswork out of what the appropriate pay would be. And hopefully, as a county, we're in a position to see the value in that, so that on an ongoing basis, we're not always handling it the way we have been, and wondering how we're gonna try to make sure that there's some equity out there among all the different departments. And I know in your proposal, the overall proposal, it talks about taking money that you've increased the revenue and putting it to the merit officers. And again, I appreciate that creativity. Part of the concern could be, what part of our concern has to be, what are we gonna do with the rest of the employees in the county? And then I'd also throw in, what are we gonna do with the other, the jail officers in your department? Because they also, I would suggest, are woefully underpaid. And so it's a tough position to be in. I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate the work of the department. And we are fortunate to live in a county that is safe, in spite of all the obstacles that are thrown our way. I'm convinced that we ultimately will do what's right for the department. But I think it's gonna take us some time to get through these requests for this particular budget. And then I think, we'll be in a better position to determine exactly what we can do relative to wages.
Thank you, Mike. I would support, you know, the wage study, for sure, and doing that for next year. I'm not opposed to changing things from year after year and trying to make ourselves better. You know, I mean, it's our job up here every year too, to make decisions, and we have, and I think we've done a good job with your department. We brought them up where we had to. I wouldn't say it, you know, that it's just guessing games all the time. We take a sheriff like this and we listen to him, right? We gotta trust him. He does his research, he's presented some good things to us before, and we've made those adjustments. Wouldn't say we've come up here and acted, you know, irresponsibly for over the years. We're a county that is pretty solvent. We do have some decent cash reserves, and we've been able to, and being smart, we've been able to give those raises out, even in the middle of a pandemic. We brought up the bottom to where I think nobody in this county makes less than $30,000. You know, we gave 3.5% raises to the middle portion. It might have been 4 and 3.5, and 3.5 for the people who made over a certain amount. We've been able to do these things because we've been smart. And I know some people have been up here, Mike, frustrated that it's arbitrary sometimes, but I believe people should get raises. Cost of living doesn't go down every year. But is there a better way out there? Maybe, and that's why, you know, I definitely would support this wage analysis and, you know, look at it, and I think that's something that we should probably figure out how to fund, you know, for next year. But we still gotta make decisions this year too. So with that, I think, Sheriff, I think this thing is still wide open, you know. I don't think there's a no on the table at all for anything. I think we've got a couple weeks to figure some things out, just like we've always done. You know, hold off till, you know, the end and try to shake some things out and still have conversations and still look at things. I don't think you're gonna stop talking to us, over the next couple weeks. You know, you're not gonna give up on your passionate plea for your, you know, your department. You do it every year, and yeah, I think the rest of the county has benefited from you up here fighting for employees. So, that's for sure. So, but I think, you know, the revenue's not going away. He's got the revenue. And there's some shifting, so you guys all have his proposal, we've got this budget open. You know, he's moved, you know, and Vicki, you might wanna help me out a little bit, in this budget. I don't think we approve it at the decrease. I think we start taking these steps, to, you know, the 170,000 in pension, the 64,000 in uniforms, the $25,000 in ammunition, the 40,000 in training, the 400 vehicles. To me, I'd like to add all that to begin the process. I mean, the revenue's coming in, you're doing it. I mean, the one component we're not, you know, I think that everybody wants to hold off on is, you know, the raises, to not add that in yet. Let's get to the end and then look at and make the decisions on that. So,
Quick question, when does the increase of revenue start? Has it already begun?
already started.
Okay.
Yeah,
The last meeting, remember we
Right.
paid, we said we're gonna.
For 3 months.
Pay off
the rest of the year.
Right.
But can I ask a question?
Sure.
Are you proposing that you're gonna make a motion to pass all the other stuff, but not the 5%?
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
the whole thing started with the vehicles. Sheriff, I
I know,
know,
but
I
it
know your
just-
plea, but I mean, do we,
it's somewhat self-serving, you know, everybody's gonna profit from this except the 5% because I don't, and in all due respect, you know, that's just as important as all the other stuff. You know, some of these things are obligated that you have to pay for them, that I'm saying I'll pay for them. You know, I mean, I know what you're trying to do, but if you're gonna make a motion, you should make the motion that includes the 5%. Because it's not, and I know what you're saying, but it's part of it's, you know, like the cars. A lot of this stuff is negotiable down the road, I imagine, as things go. you know, training and ammunition and, but from my perspective, the most, and I'm not being over dramatic, because I'm not over dramatic person, but the 5%'s the most important thing. I mean, that's why we're here. If it wasn't for the 5%, we wouldn't even be here, because it'd be a no-brainer.
You know, whatever the council's pleasure is, I mean, we've got the budget opened up in front of us right now because we said to submit them, you know, as is or less, and that's, the submittal we have in front of us is a $87,000 decrease. But, you know, also next to it is the wish list of the others. Do you wanna start putting some of it in there, or, I mean, again, I think the wish of this council is to continue to follow the pattern to wait for raises to the end, you know, as we look at everything and still work our way through this, so.
And then I've got another quick, Scott, you were there when the commissioners signed all this, right? Was it, all right, the money goes into the sheriff's account, and then it's basically under his discretion to see how he wants, no, it's not? That's what it almost sounded like.
No, the money goes, right now, this money from the federal prisoners per diem goes into the general fund.
Okay.
It's not a fee-based fund, it's in the general fund. We track it. That's how we have a 217 budget and a 233 budget. But ultimately, to your question, it's in the general fund.
Okay. But the way that was said, does that give him some discretion as to where he would like it to go? Or is it totally,
The discretion, and let's get whether it's the sheriff's discretion, at the end of the day, the ordinance is what the sheriff read. That's what the money can be spent on. And the council decides where money is spent on under those parameters.
okay,
So yes, the question is, does the money have to be spent according to the ordinance? The answer is yes. The fiscal body decides that.
but if it goes,
Executive passes the ordinance, says this is where, these are the long categories of where it can be spent. And then the fiscal body says this is where we want to be spent within those parameters.
well, but what seems awful, or just a little confusing is then why does it go into the general fund? It should go in one of his accounts then, right?
No, the general fund issue is a complicated question that's really, my understanding, and Vicki can correct me if I'm wrong, is that is dictated by the State Board of Accounts on the accounts and the funds that we can have and not have. At one point in time, in the Wayback Machine, this was not in the general fund. It was in a non-reverting fund that would be walk and talk more like what you're referring to.
Okay,
My understanding is that the state said that's no longer the way that we're allowed to do it when they redid the chart of accounts and said it had to go in the general fund. The council at that time and the auditor said we'd still like to track it, we'd still like to budget off of it separately. That's why there's a 233, and I forget if the 233's commissioners or what, but there's a
Yeah.
233 and a 217. Those were the two budgets that were fed off of the money that came from the per diem. And that's how it's gone for years. So this additional monies would still be going into that manner.
okay.
But
It-
it needs to be spent pursuant to the ordinance, which lays out the things. Because the point of the per diem is to pay back, is to be used back in where it should, where it was generated and where the expenses are. I mean, we're trying to tie the two together.
I know,
mean,
but-
to mean, you know, to go out on a crazy limb, this money shouldn't be spent on and can't be spent on stormwater projects.
Right, although if it goes in the general fund, it looks like it could.
Look, can I say something?
But that's why the ordinance was written.
Yeah, and Greg, you can't forget, I mean, we just passed a general fund budget for the jail. The jail is operated mostly out of the general fund, $4 million budget out of the general fund. So that also goes in the general fund. I think I said, I don't know the exact number, but it costs about $7 million, plus $7 million to run the jail. For that, right here, we just passed a little bit ago out of the general fund. Yeah, Sheriff, yes.
But, and we've talked to Vicki about this, but, I mean, the first part of this is the way it was before. 43.3% of revenue, up to 422,000, with 50 inmates. The Porter County Sheriff's Department will receive the balance of the 58.7 for the 50 inmates. That's how it was before. That hasn't changed. And 100% of revenue for any federal inmates above 50 comes to me. You know what I'm saying? So, but the stickler here, it goes into the general fund. But like you said, as long as we understand all this, we have line items and that's why we spelled it out so specifically, where this money's gonna go and how it's gonna be spent. So that concerns me, like, if you wanna make the motion and you're gonna do all these other things and not do the 5%, that kinda scares me. You know, if you were me, you would probably be a little bit nervous about that too, because, you know, eventually you could say, you know, I'm here, I'm a team player, so we're trying to work, we started this not knowing this was all gonna happen. Correct. We did this for the cars, and then we didn't know we were gonna get 75. If we didn't get 75 and we were back to 55, we wouldn't have this discussion either, because it'd be the same. So it's the extra money that we're trying to spend.
In the budget, there's budgets, you guys, like you're saying, the 1217, I think it's the, 1233, I mean, whatever the exact number is. That money that comes in from this is budgeted in two different budgets. The portion that goes to the commissioner, the portion that, you know, is in the general fund to operate the jail or other things that now are in the ordinance also. So it has been, and we got the revenue, it hasn't been that far off what we've been budgeting between those two budgets and what the revenue has been. There's been a couple years I see it ticked up, maybe, you know, maybe there was, you know, a couple, you know, $100,000 extra on some years, so. But the key to, you know, increasing this budget though, it's gonna capture it, and this is second reading. Obviously, as you can tell from today, I don't think we're very near making a decision.
Right.
There's a lot of discussion to be. Again, I'm just kind of the referee here. If they wanna make a motion one way or another, there's, if they feel they wanna keep it the way it is with the slight reduction right now, that's up to them, and, you know, we've got a couple more weeks to figure it out. You wanna start adding some of this stuff, you guys, right now that he's put in there?
If we stay with the slight reduction, this stuff's not in the other part of the budget, is it?
No, then we have added nothing.
But that's been removed, the car's been removed from the commissioner's budget already, correct?
Correct, yes.
So then we wouldn't have accurate numbers when we're passing their budget. I'm just
Yeah.
trying, for clarity's sake.
I mean, yeah, I mean, they've made their adjustments in their budget to readjust,
That's
some of their appropriations. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's gonna be that hard to track over, you know, with the commissioner, so, it's up to you guys, how you wanna proceed with this. We can pass it the way it is and obviously revisit it, you know, on third reading, this whole budget.
Yeah, I would say, it's hard to determine exactly where it will end up eventually. And we're not saying, or I'm not saying that the 5% won't happen. But I think we need more time. I don't think we're ready to make that decision tonight. So for that, or with that, I'd like to make a motion at to approve the 9601 as presented.
The motion on the floor to pass, the, federal DOC prisoners, basically it's 1217, I see the 9601 at $408,157 with the reduction of $87,746.
I'll second.
Second, more discussion. I think Sheriff, just keep doing your thing, we've got a couple more weeks. Reading everything right now, we're nowhere near, you know, there's not a no out there at all, there's.
I appreciate it.
Yep, so, you guys, we appreciate everything that you guys do, so, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Sheriff, you got sheriff overtime and federal prisoners revenue, those two look the same? No?
No. Sheriff Overtime Fund is a new fund that we are jointly proposing. We have not gone to the commissioners to create this fund. This would be for the overtime that they accrue, and then they turn in their claim to the feds for, like the HIDA reimbursement, the DEA. Instead of it coming back to the general fund, and they keep coming before you for additional appropriations, which always causes confusion, because the sheriff says it's his money, and I say it's the general fund. We're just going to put that in its own fund. So this fund should be a wash. They're going to submit their claims, and they're going to get reimbursed into this fund. So it's going to be a brand-new fund, and rather than come back to you next year, let's just budget for it now. And what would you want to budget for it? We advertised at 250,000, but 200.
This is that overtime reimbursement that we're trying to split up, so it's in the general fund and they're paying, and we get reimbursed for part of it. It's a lot cleaner to have that separate.
What's she even talking
And
about?
then just have the refunds go into that fund, and then the regular sheriff's overtime fund would just be for us.
For us. Which brings us back to the question, are you prepared then to reduce your overtime?
It's a new budget.
Budget in your general fund sheriff budget because we're creating it in this fund?
So do we have to go back and reapprove something with that change?
Yeah, it's not, we don't have anything.
So we
It's up to you.
reapprove their overtime budget with minus 200,000 is what you're saying?
No, no,
I'm sorry. I'm just asking.
because that overtime line item covers regular overtime in addition to the HIDA and all the drug stuff, the federal.
$40,000 we can reduce it to.
What line, what are we looking at here? Which?
We don't have that budget.
Overtime
It's-
in 05.
It's new.
No, no, they're talking about they have to reduce
We're
something.
gonna reduce in the general fund in '05 for the sheriff's general fund.
Only if you approve the appropriation in this new fund, which we have to go to the commissioners yet, but it'll kick in 2022.
Where's that at?
Yeah, I don't see it.
We just advertised it if you want to create it, and it would just be an overtime line item. It's
Is there a
not
sheet of
in-
paper that even
I don't
describes it?
think so.
No, I've got nothing.
This is a proposal that we are jointly proposing.
In the general fund, in the sheriff's general fund, there's $100,000.
understand the overtime, what that involves.
It's the overtime just for our special services guys, DEA, titled like she was
The guy
saying.
in Chicago, Haida,
yeah.
they're all our.
I'm more interested in, there's nothing before us to even look at? Or is there?
It's just one line item. We could create it. It would be a new fund with an overtime
And you
line
wanna
item.
move $50,000 into that? 60, and that would come from your, overtime
No,
line
we
item.
would appropriate 200,000,
The total appropriation would need to be 200,000.
right, and then reduce the general fund overtime by 60.
Yeah, we've already asked for 100,000 to cover that for this year, because we need, because we've got a lot more action going on out there, but it's all reimbursed. So we're trying to keep it so it's segregated from the sheriff's normal.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the reimbursement checks would go back in there, so
So-
you can see it easier.
So what, the 200, why the
Here, let's-
200,000?
Because
Scott might have
the 200,000 is they're trying to avoid the problem the commissioners have on the 100 South project where we spend 100,000, we get 80,000 back, then we have to come reappropriate it every time. They're trying to do a larger appropriation now. That's not actually funded.
Gotcha.
That's only got 60,000 in it, so that as the grant money comes in, they don't have to come every time to get 2,200 appropriated and 4,200 appropriated.
So we're not moving 200,000, we're moving 60.
So they're actually moving.
Reserving
The money's the same, they're moving X from this to that, the appropriation's larger, so as the reimbursements come in, the council doesn't have to address additionally it over and over again, and it's going through this conversation over and over again
Right.
of
There's
why we're here.
10 guys that are out there, and they have a maximum of $19,872 they can earn each year. It's maxed out.
And they earn it.
And they do.
So, and I mean, I think this would help clean up some things, right? And you guys, so can we create this budget then? Do we need a motion tonight? Do you wanna put do you wanna create a $200,000 overtime, sheriff's overtime budget in overtime? Is that,
And then reduce the other one by 60. I'll make a motion if you want, if that's what's needed.
We could just wait,
Have it ready next time.
yeah.
do you want us to have, should we?
You could vote on it if you want.
Let's-
And then what we
let's do
could do
that.
is, we'll create it in the
Yeah.
system and then print it out
Sheriff's
for
overtime
you.
budget,
All right, I'd make a motion to create the sheriff's overtime budget with
$200,000.
$200,000
Overtime line item.
overtime line item, and we're moving 60 now, or no?
Let's just do this first.
Just that, okay, thank you.
Motion, second, discussion.
Second, yeah.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So let's go back and revisit Sheriff's General Fund.
Oh, that's it.
So his overtime line item, third one down, is $100,000, you wanna reduce that to 60,000? 40, that's right, sorry. So, that would change that bottom line.
I'd make that
Tony, you
motion.
got
Motion, a second on the floor.
6,010,516.
New number right now is $6,010,516, $10,516. So, is there a motion, a second on the floor?
Yes.
Wait a minute, is that amount correct, Vicki? You take 40 from the bottom, is it 6,030,000? Or 6,000,000?
We're taking 60,000, we're not 40.
10?
Yep, we're taking
We're
60.
leaving 40, we're
Did you-
taking 60.
Did you click that? 'Cause that, okay.
Yeah.
We're taking 60.
Right, we're leaving
So
40
it'd make
in
it
there.
6,000,000 what?
10,000.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
10,516.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Federal prisoner revenue? Let's-
Wait, do we have to make a motion now to put that 60,000 into the sheriff's overtime thing?
We just passed that budget, yep.
Got it.
What's, federal prisoner revenue?
Okay, that we can just ignore.
Ignore it for now, that was the
This
thoughts of the
was
other one?
part of the
The
discussion.
other option?
Where we were discussing, I think, Greg, you're the one who said, creating a new fund for the housing, and it was decided
so.
not to do it. So
right.
we had to advertise for it in case
Talk
we
about this.
did it, but let's just ignore that.
All right, you're welcome.
So we cut your budget.
All right. Coroner, general fund. Here we go, let's see. Get over that hump. So, that was, 2001, I think I got that in front of us.
Why is
So,
it doesn't change.
there's should be a change. Hold on, let me look at it. So, nothing's changed there, because we told everybody to submit their, same budget, but I believe you all should have a request. Do you have that stuff in there? No?
I don't know what you're looking at.
So it's not, you should have had it.
Oh,
There you go. There it is. The next page, flip it over one more. Yeah, there should be a letter, you guys. So, per Andy's recommendation at the June 24th council meeting, the coroner's requested an increase from the, consultation line from 170,000 to 240, and,
I mean, that makes
autopsies.
sense, right? That's what we're paying this year. Shouldn't budget for less.
Well,
It's not going down. Why isn't it reflected in here, though? Why is it just a
again,
letter?
we told them to submit the same budget as last year. And then
So that's the-
this is the side letter with, the request, the form that was sent out, which is, increasing it from $170,000, and you've got the letter in front of you. But I think also, she's got another request, to increase deputy call-outs, the hourly from $25 to $50. So, am I correct in those two?
Yes.
So,
Is that from $25 an hour to $50 an hour? Because it says
No,
hourly,
it's
that's
just
what confused
for
me.
If there's a scene call.
sorry, sorry.
Yeah, that you have to go out on.
I would make a motion to accept the budget with this $240,000 and obviously moving the increase to the end of the budget session as we're keeping, that would be my motion. Move the $25 to $50 increase to the end of the budget session.
Cindy, is the 50, is that standard for other, is that standard, $50 a call out, or is that more or less? Where does that number come from?
Well, I've looked at, 3 other counties that are similar in population with us. Every county works different. They do have, some of them, Johnson County has a stipend. Hendricks County, they pay their deputies $20 to $22 an hour. And they're on call, our deputies get, between $9 and $10 an hour. And I just-
$9 and $10 an hour?
depending on how many shifts they take. I just thought it was important, they deserve, an extra $25, for the some of the calls that they go out on are, pretty gruesome. And I just think they need more than $9 or $10 an hour to do that.
Yeah, if the council's not familiar, essentially what we do is if some of the calls we don't necessarily have to attend the scene, we are able to release them via phone call. We can discuss with the officer, the police officer that's on scene, and then make a determination. If it's a natural death, that kind of thing, we can save the county some money and not attend that scene, right? Some of those scenes obviously require us to go there to complete a death investigation where it's a suspicious death or unknown circumstances, those kind of things. So what we have done then is, for the calls that we release, we get a $12.50, I guess, stipend, if that's what you wanna call it. We get that for that release. If we attend the scene, we get $25. $12.50 if we do a phone release, we get $12.50 more if we go. It's obviously not a very large amount, and to not get into crazy details, like some of these scenes are bad, and some of them take hours. So, I mean, you're saying we're getting $25 for it, but like some of them are there for 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours. So it's just bad. We're just trying to make it a little bit
A lot
more
of times,
for our guys.
the investigation can't be completed in that 12-hour shift. So they have to, the deputies have to take care of business on the days that they're not on call. So, yeah, that's.
Do you go out on calls too?
Yeah, I would say that, to increase whatever that call-out pay is now to whatever it needs to be, that's something that certainly makes a lot of sense. Although I think, I don't know, Councilman Bozak, if you said.
No, I said to move it to the
To
end.
cover it during wages and
Yeah, it's not that I
compensation.
was against it by any means, 'cause
Sure.
And that makes sense, so I think we address that then, but, so I'm more interested in the consultants line item where we're taking it from 170 to 240, because that's a sizable $70,000 increase to the general fund. And then Cindy, how are we arriving at that 240? Is that contractually, that's a contract that's been signed?
Well-
Or is that the trend that we're seeing, or?
No, actually, our budget that we had was $170,000, and I just asked for an additional $80,000. And we're already at 72 autopsies this year. From 2008, the most autopsies we had during the year was 73. We're gonna surpass that, but,
it's going up again next year.
it's still,
We hope not.
with the MOU that I set up with Dr. Fesco, it's still gonna save, it doesn't look like it with that amount of money, but it's still gonna save the county money as far as, paying a monthly fee for as many autopsies as we need, than paying per autopsy.
So in 2021, it will be that 240 range.
Could be more, right?
Well, it could be more, it could be less too.
Because the way you guys explained the MOU, it's
Right.
gonna go up if the autopsies are up, because it's based on an average from the last quarter.
Right.
So
Or if we
now
go
they're
back
going up.
down.
Well, hopefully,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Right, so yeah, and that's just it, is we have to, it's a gamble game kind of thing. So we have to ask you guys to make sure that we have something to cover it, otherwise, as soon as we don't cover it, we're gonna be just like we were in the last meeting, coming back to say, which is why we added it on your request, because at the last meeting we are, we have to pay more for it. So we're just at least starting at kind of where we're at now, in hopes that it'll trend down and we won't need it, and then just don't use it.
And we'll take it back next year.
Yeah,
Yes, sir, you
Have
will.
it back.
Yeah, so, this is an extraordinary year, I mean, record-setting by all measures.
Very
right?
much so.
And our hope, of course, is that we don't set records on a continuous basis in that category. But, whether or not you're actually gonna need the additional 70 or the 240 total, that may or may not happen. Would it be okay to say, let's go half? So raise it $35,000, full well knowing that if it is more and we need more because it's continuing to skyrocket, then we could address it at that time?
Well, frankly speaking, if I may.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing that ultimately the council's gonna have to pay for one way or the other.
Yeah, if it's,
We don't-
if
we
if
don't
they're
really have a
necessary.
choice, right? I mean,
If they're necessary, absolutely.
correct.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if we end up having to raise it
Yeah.
after,
Right,
we would
yeah,
have
no,
to.
I don't disagree, I'm just, from my perspective, we have an additional $800,000 to spend in the entire budget,
Understood?
and to take almost 10% of that in this particular category that might be needed, hopefully not, but it might be needed, might be just premature making that decision. I mean,
Well, I'm taking the high end right now, that what we discussed at the last council meeting was the $20,000 a month for the autopsy fees for the pathologist. So I'm going high because I'm hoping, the first 6 months of the year, we had 52 autopsies. That was extremely high. We're only at 72, so we're kind of leveling out a little bit, but if I go high, then if it goes lower, then we can drop back down to the $15,000 a month. It's just the negotiation between us every 6 months. I don't foresee it going higher than this.
I would amend my motion, Mike, to agree with you, to 205, that would be half, is that what you were thinking?
yeah, assuming that covers the contract as it stands today.
I believe it does. What we're paying
The-
currently.
Right, through the end of the year, yes, everything's covered. This is for like next year, so.
So assuming our numbers
No.
stay as they are right now, that would cover us continuing, yes. Assuming they say, but obviously, that is our gamble. So as long as the council would remain open to us having to come back and say,
Well,
it
to your
didn't stay
your
the same.
point, clearly, they'd have to be paid for if it does.
That's statutorily, sir.
Yeah.
No, I'm not disagreeing with
Absolutely.
this.
Yeah, statutorily, they would have to.
I think there's a motion on the floor. Did you make a motion, Mike?
I
Yeah.
did.
Or
Motion
Amy
second.
did, I'll second.
So that's moving the consultant line item to what?
205.
205, $205,000.
And discussing the increase at the end.
Well, I just have a question on that though right now. What line item, that comes out of hourly? Where do you pay that per diem out of?
Which, the call out?
Uh-huh.
There's a video line item, there's nothing in it.
It would be,
I don't know
yeah,
where
it
they're
would be
paying it
hourly.
now.
Yeah, it comes out of hourly.
Comes out of hourly?
Mm-hmm,
So what
yeah.
are you expending out of that? Will that support, I mean, you're doubling your call out. I mean, the payout for that. So is that line item gonna support doubling that?
What's the impact going from 25 to 50?
I'm sorry, what?
What's the impact on the bottom line? How much more is it gonna cost you guys from going to $25 to $50? Is that what you were asking?
Yes, yeah, you're doubling your cost of, for call outs from $25 to $50.
Probably high end, 10,000.
So,
That would be the
Doing the math.
additional.
Doing the math high end, yeah. Our call scenes, have never really been, I think the highest number we had was like 230 in a year, and that's going back 10 years. So then, even then, you'd be in the $11,000 range. We would average 200 or less, generally speaking.
is there a way to see that? I mean,
Okay,
what
Yeah.
they've spent, like,
yeah, can we call it up? No, it's in payroll.
what they've spent out of hourly? Because
Sorry.
that's obviously where they're
Okay.
paying it out of.
Well, we have it verbally here. So far this year, they've paid out 5,100 for these particular call-outs.
So there's your
And
10,000.
that's only if they got, we can have a 12-hour shift and not get called at all.
Right.
So it's not like every
Total?
shift.
No.
It's only if they're called out.
So that's paid out of the hourly line item?
Yes, it
Why do we
is.
have a per diem line item in there and it's not paid out of that?
There's a per diem line item, 000.
All right,
It just was carried over from prior years.
all right. All right. I guess I'd like to know in that hourly, how that.
So of this hourly, 9,100 was like allocated for these call-outs. That's how much was budgeted. And so far this year, they've spent 5,100.
So it may be able to support it. May, close.
Yeah, it may or may not, then we can address it when we go through wages, and, I mean, the call-out, certainly there's a good argument to increase the call-out rate, no
Barely covers gas at 25.
All right, what's the number on this budget then? Do you have that up? With the increase of 35,000, excuse me.
Yes, so 432,995.
All right, all in favor of that, the $432,995 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and we'll, discuss the, increase in the call-out
At the end.
last meeting.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Thank you very much.
coroner's fatality review, what is,
Oh, yeah.
I gotta use that.
what is that
I
budget?
wanted to talk to you about that coroner. You didn't submit a budget for 2022 for this fund because you've been doing it through additional appropriations. So we just wanted to throw it out.
The quarterly review,
Yeah, the coroner fatality review, yeah.
the fatality review, right now, it's very new, and I wanna make sure that it's gonna continue.
Okay.
And that, I don't wanna go through all that, and then all of a sudden, the team.
So if you want to spend out of this, you just want to keep coming back for the additionals next year?
Yeah, cause what we're using that for is mostly for equipment or supplies in the office that need replaced, so.
We just threw that in there just to see if you wanted to propose
I
it.
mean, what, Vicky, from your office's perspective, I mean, trying to manage that, is it easier to pass a budget?
Yeah, that's fine, if
It's-
that's how Rich wants to handle it, I think it's just fine, right?
It's
I mean,
what?
I think it's just fine. She has to come back.
It's either way.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other, sure. All right, so, nothing to do on the coroner fatality review. All right, we're good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right,
Excuse me,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
President. Madam Auditor,
Yes,
in addition to changing the figures on the screen, are we also tallying a list of the changes? Someone?
yes. We're keeping track of the general fund and all the property tax supported funds because we know we have to stay within that certain levy.
Okay, thank you.
all right, we got Veteran Services, Extension Office, Treasurer, those are the same, if I'm correct?
Make-
What? Huh?
Well, the bottom line's the same,
Whoa,
oh, $25.
Veterans is the same. Somebody wanna make a motion on veterans real fast?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second on, keeping, veterans at, $108,567. Discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Treasurer, is there, you did who? 25? I'm sorry, Extension Office. All right, yep, there's Extension Office, it's the same.
Make the motion.
Motion to keep, the Extension Office the same.
Second.
Second, at $275,440. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Treasurer, you, looks like you reduced, what, 25? Well, it's the same. You just reduced and increased. Bottom line is the same in the treasurer, $301,668.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Have a good night.
Opposed, same sign. Elected official training, what is this? Treasurer? Why is that?
Oh, okay.
There's a treasurer's budget in the elected officials.
Okay, this is the elected official training fund, and last year, I believe, you appropriated a certain amount for each of the elected officials. And so this would be her allocation.
This is her allocation for it? Okay. This is all from the recorder's fee?
Yes.
All right.
Are you guys using it?
Whatever training we have, I guess we're doing it a different way.
So you'll be using it?
You have a budget for
We've used
$1,085.
$129.
Okay.
There's a
We do a spring training.
I was curious.
That comes out of once a year.
elected official training in front of you for $1,085.
Motion.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor,
was
signify by
probably
saying
mileage,
aye.
right?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Soil and water.
Have a good night. Yeah, we'll call you back.
You better run from us, Michelle.
Soil and water, looks like there's a change here.
What we're requesting is $2,100 to pay a per diem to the 5 supervisors or meeting stipend, 12 meetings times $35. Otherwise, everything stays the same, what I call the office supplies part of the budget.
I'd make a motion on the office supplies, the 128, 175. Is that,
That's correct.
that's.
Yes, and then that $2,100 would be on that 144 form. We've not had a stipend for our board members since 1952, the establishment of the district. So for the first time ever, the board decided to request $35 per meeting, times 5 board members, times 12 meetings. That's set by the state soil board at $35, so we can't come in here and ask for $100 per meeting. So just so you have some background why we have that figure of $35. I don't think that's changed since 1934, so.
Sounds like it.
Is this unique to your board? Do any other boards get, I'm just asking a general question.
I believe there are other boards in the county that receive a meeting stipend.
Some,
Yes.
not all.
Not
but
all,
some.
yes.
In my motion, I would suggest we tackle that,
Sure,
at the end.
yeah, I know where you're
As the
coming from.
others.
Yeah,
Yes, Sylvia and I had the opportunity to sit with Michelle and kind of explain the stipends and the need for it and so forth, and would never pretend to speak on behalf of Sylvia, but we're certainly supportive of the effort, although I think covering it at the end does make sense.
I understand where you're coming
I'm
from.
not
I'm not
against it.
asking for any special treatment by any means.
You'll have the sheriff at our throats if we did that.
No, I sat there and heard the whole discussion. So I appreciate you listening, and once again, I appreciate.
Yeah, wait, we only have a motion.
Oh,
We need a
okay.
second.
You mean I can't get up yet?
There's a motion on the floor to pass it as the same,
Yeah.
$128,175.
If I didn't make the motion, I'll second it.
There you go.
Motion and a second. Discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
We do appreciate the liaison process with Councilmember Justin and Councilmember Graham. We love that.
compliment, Mike.
We brag about it all the time when we go to state conventions.
They make being a liaison a pleasure.
Well, let's hope Sylvia wins this Distinguished Woman of the Year this evening.
Have a good night, Michelle.
All right, what do we got? Assessor and reassessment? Oh, you wanna come up here? Good evening. You wanna come up here? Assessor's the same, reassessment's the same, correct?
Pretty much.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion and second to keep it the same. All, discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. What do you got? You got something to talk about?
There's a raise in the hourly rate for our part-time employees, so we can compete with McDonald's.
What are we looking
We're
at?
capped at $15 an hour, on our 144. We're not asking for additional, we're just asking for the ability to pay a little higher to, some part-time employees that are maxed out right now at 15.
Oh, 10-250? What am I, where's the change?
On the 144,
Yeah, the 144.
down near the bottom, gray area, it's, highlighted.
Keep going,
Keep going.
keep going.
You keep
So
flipping, you flip it.
currently, John, it's up to $15 per hour?
That's correct, yes.
Seems a bit low.
A little bit low, yes, just,
So I would certainly be in favor of that, although I think as we've kicked everything to the end on wages, I would do that, but certainly be in support of the up to 25. I'd also ask the question, how many offices do we have where they're maxed out at up to $15 per hour?
We would have to compile
Yeah.
it. I don't know it all.
That just seems, especially in this day and age, seems pretty low and restrictive.
yeah.
And this isn't meant to be offensive, I just would like to know, a part-time office person making 25 an hour, what do they do? Is 25 too much for something like that? Again, not mean to be offending.
Train employees that are going out to measure commercial, and, it was that our commercial could get paid a little more, and our residential was stuck at the 15, but now we're kind of cross-training, and, the employees are learning to do more of the commercial measuring, things like that.
There is some skill involved, that's what I was.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
So that's a 25.
All right, so we'll, push that off. And, if we remember, we'll bring it up.
Okay.
He'll be here to remind us.
So,
But
all right.
But wait, clarification, you're only asking for the rate change, not a higher appropriation, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
We could ask for a higher appropriation.
no, you already said that's correct.
You were already excused.
They gotta do reassessment, don't we? No
Oh.
change there.
Reassessment budget, well, yeah, assessor and reassessment budget. Did we make a motion to approve both of them, or no?
No, you just did one.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and second to approve both the assessor and reassessment, the same number. Discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Dang
day.
it, we didn't get to beat up John. Have a good night. man.
Ron Snyder.
It wasn't me.
Portage Township Assessor. Looks like there's some change in reassessment. What changes we got? What, they're highlighted? Looks like there's an increase in the general fund of $740. Looks like she lowered travel and, increased dues and subscription. What else?
No,
No, the,
dues and
the
subscription
increase
went
on, dues and subscriptions is incorrect. It is, I was lowering it
Yeah,
to
it's a decrease.
2,700.
All right, sorry. So there's a couple of decreases, but it looks like you've moved most of it down to contractual services. So you're just shifting a little while with a little bit with an increase of $740 to the total budget.
And with the contractual, anything specific that's
Well,
requiring you to
the
bump that up?
contract, the reason why I'm increasing it by so much, where am I at now? I'm at,
4,500?
4,500. The 11.2 is, I have the increase to send out Form 11s is increasing. And plus, I need to, when it comes to IBTR cases, the county assessor handles that, but I need to get, appraisals now. And I'm dealing with big box stores, and I need to start getting appraisals, and those are costly.
Falls under contractual.
Yes. That's why I'm asking for such an increase in that.
How are you taking travel down so low? I don't know what the travel item
Well,
is
the
used
travel
for.
is because we were going to, conference down in Indianapolis. I chose to just to stay locally.
Okay.
Well, because they canceled it last year, a lot of the, online classes, we could do Zoom and everything, or however they're doing it now, so I just prefer to do that way, and it saves some money.
You know, I appreciate the fact that you tried to absorb most of that increase in other line items. I think that's good. Appreciate that.
So, that was for that, and I think,
Well, I'll tackle that one. I'd make a motion on that one. To accept the $740 increase.
Second.
Motion and a second on the floor for the, assessor, Portage Township Assessor budget at $254,729. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Portage Township, the reassessment. Looks like there's an increase, you put on here for $6,532, but where's that increase? Contractual
okay,
services mostly, and
yeah,
office supplies?
2,000, and for office supplies, we need new chairs, and I don't have the money. Every time I use that for other things throughout the year for reassessment supplies, and so I need the money for the, for chairs. And, the $5,000 increase also is, my reassessment commercial guy. His on contract increases a little bit, and plus this is money that I can put towards my, appraisals. But with doing that, I'm also decreasing it because I'm asking for a decrease of the salary, the hourly, the 26.4, because I want to put that part-time person into my general fund. You look at 144. I know that's gonna be at the end and everything for salary.
So, yeah, I'm looking at your, okay, so, part-time to full-time, you've got a request here on this, your submitted form for $43,967. You're trying to move a part-timer to a full-time?
We are a small staff, so, she's only there 4 days a week. And trying to keep up with her schedule, and everybody else went on vacation, especially during our business time, because she's out of the office doing, during the busy time, is reassessment. But she is learning everything else. She helps with mobile homes, personal property, everything else that we're doing, and she's currently going for her level 3. And when it, a lot of times I don't have enough people in the office, like on Fridays, when the days are off, I need her there, because I can't move her on a different day, and sometimes we fall behind on the reassessment, and I need that extra day to keep her, so we can get our numbers. We have to meet so many parcels.
So, and you're proposing this out of the reassessment fund?
Well, I'm decreasing the reassessment fund of the 26.4 and the hourly, so some of that would go to the, what I say, contractual services and office supplies. So that would take care of the 6,000 out of that. So I'm decreasing that.
I don't see that.
It's not on there. I mean, again, we asked them to
That's
submit the,
pulled out.
yes.
Okay.
So, I mean,
So the 26.4, my $6,000 increase in would go from that, okay? So that takes care of my $6,000 increase I asked for the reassessment. The $1,000 and then the 5,000. So that would be out of my hourly if I can use it full time. And then my FICA and would be lowered too.
And where would her salary go, or his or her salary?
Her salary would go into the general fund. I need to add her salary to my general.
So that's going up another 40, 50,000?
Yeah, about 40, whatever. 43,900, I think that's what it is, 43,967.
That doesn't include FICA or anything, right? That's just a,
Uh-uh.
okay.
so she's, this is adding a full-time employee to the
Right.
general fund,
Mhm.
so. At a cost.
I would make a motion to accept it as it is, and then obviously discuss that
Right.
employee at the
And-
end.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
The motion is second to pass, the reassessment fund with the increase of $6,532, so the number's $79,496. Discussion, all in favor of the reassessment fund, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, I know you had also in there some 5 employees, level 1, trying to give them $1,000 raise, is that?
No, I needed an extra,
Oh,
I was short because, my part-timer is currently getting her level 3, so I'm short $1,000 for that. So, well, so if I include her with it for the level 3,
So that's just one person?
there'd be 3. Yeah, I was short $1,000 is what it was for the.
Okay, so, all right. All right, well, we'll address that at the end too, so make sure you come back and final reading.
Unless we have a special pay night, shoot, with all these requests.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Sandy. Need the tourism one now.
Yeah, tourism. Okay, Move them to tonight.
For those of you who do not know, this is Richard Riley. He is our board treasurer. And Mitch Peters, who is our president, was unable to make it tonight, so he sends his apologies.
He's famous, he's from Chesterton, I know him.
All right, so we got tourism in front of you. Looks like the number went down $50,420. So, looks like, there's a sheet here with some requests, some changes in here. Disposal, they wanna go up, is that correct? $3,500. Dues and subscriptions go up $29,200. Furniture and fixtures over $100, up $5,000. Data processing equipment, up $12,000. Looks like there's some hourly up $75,000. pay for that, looks like FICA up, and then medical life insurance up $96,880, and longevity up $3,500. So they've got some side, requests. Lorelei, why are we gonna head down the path of removing the money from the, venues?
Yeah, so one of the critical things that we were able to do during the pandemic is a couple of things. First of all, through the research that we have done, and clearly the pandemic clarified that we should have done this, is we want to have a year's worth of crisis stability fund of operational. So, so we were able to assess what it costs to operate, and that's the, like, the bare minimum to keep everything going, and that's $900,000 a year. We currently have $600,000 in our crisis stability, so we need to get that up to $900,000. So that's one of the issues that we're dealing with as an organization. Item number 2, I don't know how this got determined, but when we established the visitor center, before we built it and moved into it, we created a long-term capital improvement budget that was provided to us by the architecture team. And so we were told X amount of money. We were given the breakdown of the long-term from anything from starting at 10 years, what was going to be needed, 15 and 20-year increments. We're not sure how those numbers got so far off, but they're not even close. So we're at year 15 at the visitor center, and in year 20, which is going to be in 5 years from now, we are looking at a new roof that has been estimated at $200,000, and if we have to get a new parking lot, that's also a 20-year lifespan, and that's about $200,000. Our current amount in our long-term facility improvement is $129,000. So what we're trying to do is we have got to get these 2 line items up. Now, we are entering into negotiations for our lease with the National Park will expire at the end of next November. Our lease agreement is with General Services Administration, so we do have to address the shortage with that regarding long-term capital, so they have to pay for 50%. At the current rate, that rate is at I think it's at $300 some a month. So I will be addressing that with GSA, but we do have to get that up in 5 years. And then after that, we have to start the clock all over again for another 20 years, and we've projected that from 2026 to 2046, because you're talking about $1 million in those 20 years. So in this year and next year, we already have $84,000 worth of improvements at the visitor center that we have to do. So our telephone system cannot get upgraded, and the equipment that we have, you can't replace it. Our locks, again, we can't replace the locks or the keys. We have to now upgrade that to a keyless system. The restroom sinks in the public restrooms have to be replaced from a safety perspective. So that's just those normal things that are coming up. We're at the 15-year mark. So when you look at those, Jeremy, and all those expenses, we have got to start being very serious about those 2 buckets. And, keep in mind, we're funded through the innkeeper's tax. So we don't come to you and say, by the way, we need to put our new roof on. That is the ownership is on us for all that maintenance. We also have an agreement with GSA, and they do inspect the building to make sure that their client is being taken well care of, and we always give high remarks in terms of how we're taking care of the facility. Now, I know those are facility operational costs. That's part of the world we live in, but I will tell you the return on investment is huge. We're running so in 2019, we had 170,000 visitors. The average was 100,000 in the past, so we increased by 83%. That was driven by the name change, and we're about 10% below that figure at this time. So it's a whole new game. I wish you guys could be out there in the summer. Pick any day in the summer and come to the visitor center, and you would be shocked about the number of people that are coming through that door. And the reason it's a return on investment is because we're interacting with these visitors that have chosen our destination, and we're getting them into our communities to go to the hotels, to go to the restaurants. And as you guys know, what industry got beat up really hard during the pandemic was our industry. And so what our part is to make sure we're promoting these businesses and getting the visitors into the community so that our businesses can survive. I will tell you I know when I was here on Tuesday, Bob asked how we were doing. So overall, we were down in 2020 by 22%. to tell you how bad it could have been, the national average was down 44%. So we were half of that. At the start of this year, we were down in our revenues in January by 50%. But thankfully, each month, we kept getting better, so now we're down 2% because of the summer that we had. So we're very close to being at the 2019 benchmark in terms of revenue. But at this point, we've got to start making some tough decisions, and my concern is if we don't start addressing the crisis stability fund and we don't address the long-term capital fund, we're going to have some bigger expenses coming down the road, and again, we have to pay for those expenses.
Expo Center, Memorial Opera House, Museum
I
and
don't know what
Parks.
that means. What is that? That's a decrease to them? Why is that?
Decrease to them. So a couple years ago, we started taking some of that money and giving it to those venues so they can use it for advertising. So there are venues, so we're using some of the visitors' money so that they go and advertise themselves also. So.
Is this reflected in their budgets when they come in front of us? $70,000 less?
No, they don't, I'm probably sure that they're unaware of it, I don't, you know. I don't know.
Just for clarification, they did not get any funding from us for this year because of the budget. We had no idea, and then we paid them through March of last year we paid them through March of 2020, and then this year we're not paying them anything just because we're trying to survive at this point, and so. And there are options, there's certainly a possibility that we can market for them. I think there's other avenues in which to definitely look at this. But my biggest concern is when we were putting money aside for the crisis stability fund, but then when it was increased, it was supposed to be a one-year increase from 89,000 to 150 for the venues. Well, that ended up not being a one-year deal. It kept going on, and so we couldn't continue to put money in the crisis stability fund. So there's just a couple of things we feel like we really got to shore up in terms of what we're doing at the visitor center. And then the final thing, and this is why we haven't started our actual negotiations with GSA, is the biggest priority for the National Park Service is they want to redevelop the visitor center space. So it's about a $3 million project, and they just want to, they know we can do so much more in terms of that visitor experience when they come to the visitor center, so that it should be an attraction. And so right now, GSA is in communications with the National Park Service, and they're trying to figure out what does this look like. So one of the things we floated is there any opportunity for us to bond? We can't bond. It would have to be through the county. But, then we would have to pay back the loan and the National Park would pay back 50%. So they're working with GSA. They have told them that as a client of ours, that this is a high priority. And so we've got some exciting things that we're doing. It's just that we've got to start, putting some energy towards that.
Since you get some of your money from federal funding, if the federal government shuts down because of the budget, are you guys have to close, or you guys remain open?
No, we remain open.
They passed it? They
So-
passed it.
Oh, it is passed?
Yeah.
Okay.
It passed, but
It
we know,
passed it today.
we've
So
encountered that.
Yeah.
Mid-October?
I think the House did.
December 3rd?
So Andy, but we have encountered it before, so we remain open, and then
Great.
what we find out is we can get some of their volunteers to switch over to our volunteers, because we just don't want our people, especially if, sometimes it's happened during the middle of the winter when we have one person. So from a safety perspective, we try to get extra people out there.
So, you guys got the budget in front of you. There's, like I said, they've got a couple requests for increases on the other side. And this is all fee-based.
Yeah.
This comes from the innkeeper's tax. There's a little increase in hourly. I mean, my biggest thing, and I get, when we shut down COVID and, you didn't have the money to pay, the revenue wasn't coming in for the venues, but the venues are an important part, in my opinion, of tourism around here too. So, I think that was why it stayed in there too. I think everybody thought it was a good idea. I'm hearing what you're saying. You want to build up some of your different funds for, certain reasons, but I'm not sure the $70,000 is going to make or break your plans. But I know the $70,000 means a lot, to those venues for advertising. Have you been in communication with them about, you
We
talk
haven't done,
about?
we haven't done anything. We were in communications with them when COVID hit, and, you know, we let them know what was happening in terms of, I mean, you know, we were projecting 0, you know, because we didn't know what was gonna happen to the hotel industry and so forth, so. And like I said, it was always at 89,000, and it was bumped up to 150,000 for 1 year only, and then that's when we had to quit putting away some money for the crisis stability. But we were not aware of the long-term capital improvements until just this year, when we were starting to talk to our roofing people and our parking lot folks, and they started telling us the pricing, and we're like, that's when I knew something is seriously wrong. And so I went back and looked at our numbers that we were provided when we moved in, and I'm not sure, because we know when we constructed the building, you'd have thought that they would, you know, those numbers would have had increased for inflation in terms of the, you know, when they put the parking lot in and when they put the roofing. But I still, the reality of it is, we still have to pay these expenses, you know, and so it puts more pressure on us to figure out where those dollars are gonna come. Right now, printing is going up. I don't know if you guys know, we already had a job cancel on us because the printers don't have the paper. So again, now it's gonna be a big fight between supply and demand, and I've got a big activities guide that I gotta put together, you know, that's gonna promote all the communities. So there's a lot of pressure on us as well in terms of making sure that we can keep everything going with what we have.
So, Lorelei, I understand tourism was hit hard during the pandemic, and it sounds like it's recovering, not fully. But, you know, with all the money that the federal government put out there, have you guys looked to go after any of that money? I mean,
The only thing
potential.
so the first PPP, we were not qualified because we're government. So the second round, when they finally were able to, the US Travel was able to finally get government into that bucket, we got one round of PPP and then it was dried up. So we, you know, we did get a little bit, and we did get a little bit of COVID money from the county. You know, think about it, we had a lot of expenses as well from the, you know, we were open in terms of the cleaning, the sanitation and all that. So we did get a little bit of money, but that's about it. We have not had a lot of other avenues open to us.
So there's not grants out there for organizations like yourself that you could
We've looked,
find?
I mean, most of it was, usually government is cut out, you know. and
Right,
then
I
they
got
finally
you.
do-
Yeah, it's kind of, all right, I mean,
Should we ask Scott what his opinion is on this $70,000 loss? I mean, from the commissioner's perspective, $70,000 less going to Expo Memorial Alpine Museums, is that gonna be, hurt them, kill them?
It will be, quite a hit.
Yeah.
Parks, is it Parks, MOH, and,
Museum
Expo,
and-
museum.
yeah. Be significant.
Well, I guess my concern with doing that is that you haven't spoken to them and haven't worked through this. I don't know what it was a few years ago. So just telling you my concern, I'm not saying I'm against it. That's a concern of mine.
It's been there, I don't know how long, do you remember when we initially did this? Do you remember the year when we initially?
Yeah, it's the year, the pavilion, and so I don't know.
3 years, maybe 17.
17, so they've been, you know, relying on this and improving themselves too, to make themselves more attractive, but, you know, I would say while they're doing that, this money was probably pretty valuable and growing. Again, they got hit just as hard as you during the pandemic, right? I mean, shut down completely.
So the capital improvements, and that's the long-term facility improvement fund that you're trying to support? It's roof, it's parking lot,
You've got keys,
HVAC.
you've got doors, and you've got sinks that we're getting, we have to replace. Windows will be in about 30 years. It's all the bigger things, the parking lot, you know, the parking lot and the roof is two big ones. And then 20 years after that, you're gonna replace not only the rubber of the roof, but you got all the steel. So it'll be 30 years, it'll be the steel and everything. So, I mean, there's quite a bit, you know, now that it's 15 years old, you're talking that, you know, any typical building's gonna have some bigger response.
And then tell me a little bit about the crisis stability fund.
So the crisis stability fund is, you know, with what happened, I mean, who would have ever thought we'd be in a pandemic where our revenue source potentially could dry up, you know, significantly. We're fortunate because we had outdoor recreation and our state remained open in terms of the national park. Our national park could have closed. There was other national parks that closed, and if the national park, and they came very close to it because of some of the issues that we were having that were coming from Chicago. So if the national park closes and the state park would've made the decision to close, you could have different administration that makes a different decision. That would greatly impact our hotels, and that would dry up our resources. So we have a national park that's a part of our building, we still have a building that we have to maintain. I mean, there's just basic, you still have utilities and so forth. So Mike, what we did is we looked at the operational expenses and said, hey, these are the things you have to pay, the NIPSCOs, the water and all that. And so.
You mentioned there's around 600 in there now.
Yes.
Prior to the most recent, of course, the biggest crisis we've ever seen, how much was in there?
It was 600, so we haven't been, we want to start to grow that. So that's on our plan to grow that, and it's on our plan to grow the
So
water.
it's remained steady through the crisis? You still,
Yeah, so one of the things in a crisis that you want, so a couple of things on the research we've done on crisis stability funds is anytime you take out of the crisis stability fund, the goal is that you pay it back, right? Because that's what it's there for. But what you normally do is you reduce as many costs as you can, and you only go into the crisis stability fund to pay those operational things that you can't pay. So what we did is we cut back everything that we could possibly cut back, and then we're able to stay afloat because we ended up doing.
it's like a rainy day fund?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So like the county, my understanding is the county's wanting to put together a 3-year operational crisis stability fund. We're just wanting to do a year so that we're not as stressed. And I mean, pretty much, in our industry, we're calling our other executive directors and going, we better be looking at what we have for a year to survive, and we would have had to take every dollar we have if we had not had any recovery.
Let me ask you, if, and I'm not suggesting this is possible, but if it was possible to get some help with some of the long-term facility improvements that you need, the roof, parking lot, HVAC, would that alleviate the pressure enough that you'd still be, if you could get help to do those things? Would that-
Absolutely, because currently, right now, we're 100% operational on our own, right? So even though we're under the county insurance, we pay our own freight. There's nothing that the county's paying for us, in terms of to survive. So, if that would be an agreement we would have, but at this point, when our HVAC goes down, we have, in fact, they were up there, yesterday, so we have I think we have 5 rooftop units and 2 downtown, so we have 7 units. Those are turning over now. So we've already done one full cycle of all of our HVAC. Now HVAC's gonna turn over again. So, yeah, if there's a way to cut down on, those expenses, but,
Then you'd be less inclined to need to take the money away from the other venues, or you'd still be able to
Right.
pay the other venues?
Right, but so what I was saying is if I came to you guys and said, I have a $200,000 roof, you're gonna say, that's your responsibility, why didn't you, and this will be the answer, is why didn't you guys think about that, and why didn't you put those money aside? So we're kinda caught in the catch-22, so it's, and then plus we have an industry, if you're a hotel and you're a restaurant that's trying to survive, you're looking to us to promote the area, so there's a lot of, there's a lot of pressure, and I hope that you guys, we're the people that are marketing Porter County. We're the people that are out there that are showing the quality of life. So when you're talking about economic development, we're the cheerleaders that are out there, getting people to come here and understand this is a great place to recreate, but also hopefully to move here, to move their businesses here. So there's a lot that's, in terms of what we're doing.
There's a discussion that we can add to the ARP discussion. If there's a $200,000 roof need, we can at least add that to the list of things that we've been discussing for ARP plans, just as a point of clarification.
Yeah.
The other question would be, when the money was taken away, well, not given to the Opera House and stuff, is there a way that you can kick in and help them out, like pick up some of that slack from your end since you're doing it?
Well, and that's one of the things I think we can discuss, is
And,
one of the
and
things.
we've discussed that, and
Yeah.
it's not been, we need to have meetings, because it's not gonna get close to flushing it out in this council budget meeting.
All right. So, with that being said, to me, my thought here then, listening to everybody and everything, is, normally, I don't know what our rules are, but normally the chair doesn't make motions, but I would like to see that $70,000 put back in there right now. And my thought process is maybe then that will force some people to the table to have some discussions. So, they don't want it in there, they have reasons, I want it in there, but maybe there's some help in some other ways, so by putting that back in there, maybe, some people can get to the table here and,
Yeah, if we do put that back in there, we're gonna have to help you somehow. They need a
But-
new roof. I'd make the motion. Put the $70,000 back in there, that would be my motion.
what about all the other things that?
I don't know, are we,
they have? I
these,
mean,
this is a different fund, do we tackle these now, or do we tackle these
It's up
at
to you
the
guys.
end?
They have some requests in here. You know, there's some increases they're asking for. Disposal, dues and subscription. I mean, do you wanna wait to third reading? You wanna tackle it here? Put it in there, increase the hour, you know, just $5,000. Longevity, $400. Dues subscription up. I
Well,
mean,
like, data processing equipment, that's already in here, the 9,000 to 12,000, right?
They're requesting.
Some of it's already in there, right? Yeah, everything's in there but the personnel increases, correct?
Looks like it.
So my motion would include that, because it's already in there, besides the hourly, I don't.
Disposal, yeah, looks like it's all in there. All right, so just add the $70,000 to the bottom line. Is that the motion?
That was my
Yes.
motion.
Motion on the floor.
Second.
Second. You got it? So the numbers?
2,074,204.
204. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, so that's where we're at
And
right
then
now.
We're gonna tackle these at the last meeting, is that correct? Their hourly FICA, medical, longevity increases that they're asking for, or do we tackle? Right?
Seems like that's the
I just
flavor.
wanna tell them, so.
Yeah, we'll tackle that stuff at the end.
I don't see that being major increases, so yeah.
No, all right, yep, we'll tackle on third or final reading or a special meeting, we'll let you know.
Well,
Sure.
let's see, medical is already in there, medical insurance is already
That's what I was-
96,880, so did we already tackle these then?
No, I don't think, the hourly's not in there.
Not in there, some of them are in there, that's weird,
FICA's not up.
longevity's not up, but the medical life is in there, okay. So we gotta talk hourly FICA and longevity when you come back.
Thank you.
If I may.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Would it be advisable for us then to have a discussion about moving some of these long-term, huge capital expenses that we're looking at into another budget? So that we know what we have to do with the rainy day fund, the extraordinary expenses? But we really haven't been very good about not having to come back, and ask for any money.
Yeah, because I mean, I have to know if, we have to go down the path. I mean, I've got some big money we've got to put aside and, I would think we'd have to have an agreement that said, hey, we're gonna cover the roofing and stuff, or we just continue to try to figure out, I just have to reduce marketing, or, I'm gonna have to reduce something to make sure that we can continue down that path, because at the end of the day, I have 5 years to get that, line item up when we have these big expenses that are coming through.
I guess my question is, how will this discussion progress?
Well, I would say there's probably a discussion needed, for the capital improvements that are needed now. So that has to happen, which I think we can have and include the commissioners in that discussion, of course. And then, then I think the other discussion that would be helpful, if it hasn't happened to date, to have tourism. Why not have a collaborative meeting with the other venues and talk about the money that you continue to offer for them, and talk to them about what you might be able to do to help market whatever they're doing, to see how they feel about that sort of decrease. I mean, I see why, I certainly get your viewpoint on it, but I'd also like to hear from them as to what their feeling would be on that, because smaller venues, issues, and they share all the same issues and problems that you guys face. And I'd like to think that somehow we'd be able to work collaboratively to figure out what that resolution would be. Is that fair?
Fair.
And in terms of the larger capital projects, I guess I would, the commissioners are in charge of creating the ARP plan, the ARP plan. So I know we've had a couple discussions on it, but we're nowhere near, finalization. I think, there's some discussion, there's some ideas. I don't think they've put anything down, in terms of, a plan, together for adoption. It could be sooner than later, but doesn't mean that the plan won't be kind of a living document either, just because the first plan gets adopted I don't think I could be wrong, I don't think the commissioners are gonna put together a $33 million plan and and adopt it right away. You know, they may begin, spending $3 million, $5 million. I guess, and I don't mean to speak out of turn, but
No,
I'm,
you're not wrong. We're nowhere near a $33 million park plan.
so I would suggest that somebody reach out to the commissioners to, start that, discussion to say, can we be considered for a capital project,
And I don't think that'd be a new or surprising development. I think facilities has been up there to review the
Well, and
facility.
I mean, those discussions have started already as part of that, those preliminary discussions as far as what's out there, because they're one of the categories that's a little easier to understand that we can spend, as far as some of the other categories are a little bit more difficult to understand.
His question was that, does he need another budget for that stuff, though? So the answer would be no, just to leave it in there?
If you wanted another budget, you could have another budget. I mean, if it's an ease of accounting standpoint, if that's what you're saying, I'm not sure if I'm.
No, I don't think that's what I was saying. I just wanted to know, with the reduction in our monies that we can put into our accounts, what then is the next step for, discussion?
Okay.
Menus, bringing the venues, absolutely. And if we had relief from some of these major capital expenditures we know are coming down the road, then that would relieve us, a great deal of concern.
Absolutely.
all right, well, it sounds like there has been a little bit of discussion already, so I would just have the right people follow up with the right people.
Nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening. Thanks for waiting along.
Yes, thank you, and sorry for your losses.
Hey, Laura, is your longevity increase just because people are moving?
All right, guys, that was a little, sorry, just trying some different things. I'm not opposed to that, you guys, ideas, bringing Baker Tilly in to look at a plan, we've kind of got that, look at 3 to 5 years, and it's gonna help us on some different things if we ever look at the jail out there and bonding and stuff, that'll help and be part of that. A wage study, if that's the will of this council, then we're gonna have to pay for that somehow. Maybe we can look at our county council budget, which is pretty bare bones, but I would think that this body would probably be the body to tackle that. Obviously, in cooperation, I think HR would probably be a big part of that, and commissioners, so we're looking at probably job titles and, looking at total compensation. So, and I don't know who's aware, and I think this is all new revelations, but the commissioners, they did, because of some of the discussions that were happening, they did talk to a company, Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy, about what it would cost. I think it was like $98,000. I think it takes 8 to 9 months or something to do this comprehensive study. City of Valparaiso went through it, I believe, with this exact company.
Did it go there?
Very well, yeah. In fact, we did it 4 years ago, and we're engaged with them next year because we want to review it every 3 or 4 years.
Can you share that information, or is that private?
Sure.
I'd love to see what it looks like,
Yep.
what they come back with.
So the HR director got on the HR board, that name came up from the other HR county people, then Valpo came up, so then HR talked to Valpo's HR director, got good reference, and seemingly they've done, it's in the 90s, somewhere, I'll just throw 95 cities, towns, and counties in the state of Indiana have done this. The only other name we got was, they had only done maybe a handful. So this does seem to be the company that does the most of these, so they probably have, and they came with good reviews from other HR directors as far as their timeliness and their thoroughness. And it takes time because it's department by department, person by person, job description by by job description, and, I don't know if it's ever been done here. Not in recent memory, that I can recall, but, it would be a thorough process, and the point would be is that if we were going to, that was the will of both boards, then you know, the reason is to get on it, because then start counting back 7 or 8 months, and you'd want it for next year's budget session with enough time to digest and mull and go over and review, and, you know, whenever you get a document of that size, it's gonna take a while to digest it and get over the surprises, because there's gonna be surprises of too high, too low, way too high, way too low, et cetera, et cetera. So it would be something that if we were going to do, I would encourage us to start, in earnest down that path, so that we can get it back in time for everyone to really be able to look at it and review it.
Do we have a formal proposal?
I believe that is what, it's just missing the cover letter.
Which is missing
The $98,
yeah.
It's fine. So, again, you guys, and, you know, this, us just hopping through things, you know, just trying to, you know, improve things if possible. You guys have ideas as we run through this budget session next year, you know, let's improve upon things. Just trying to give you guys as much information. You guys, the reports coming out of the auditor's office is great, the information. Thank you guys. A couple of reports, I know, I think you guys got something. Did everybody get that last one about CCD and, right, it was CCD and, cable franchise. That's a great report. So take a look at it, you guys.
So what does it take to kind of get started, and, I mean, do we look at other
This?
proposals, or, yeah, on that?
Going back to this specifically, so I guess we would have to get with the commissioners sign all contracts, so, I mean, if this is something that we're interested in with this company, I think we need to then, tell them that, figure out a way to fund it. If we're gonna do it in the budget, we're gonna do it with an additional, or we're gonna put it in the budget for next year, because I doubt they'll bill us before this year. I think we just kinda gotta, give the commissioners hey, can you call them in and, you know, pass this and sign a contract and get it going? I just think, you know, and however we wanna fund it, then we just probably let them know that, sign the contract, they'll sign it, and then we just gotta figure out a way to fund it at that point in time.
Yeah, let me do this. I'd like to make a motion, to pass along a recommendation to the Commissioner's Office, suggesting that we do a salary overview, analysis, comprehensive, and involve them and speak to specifically Wagner, Irwin, Shealy, based on recommendations and so forth, and the scope of work that they've provided, and pass that recommendation on to commissioners to take appropriate action.
I'll second.
All right, so there you go. So there's a motion and a second, just to, you know, send a recommendation to the commissioners that we want this done, you know, and please put it on the agenda and pass it, and we'll then figure out a way to fund it, so.
I believe October 12th, is it 12th or 10th, is our next meeting.
Okay. So,
My only concern
Discussion,
is,
yeah.
I love the idea,
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Mhm.
I've never seen these papers, so it's hard for me to recommend that or say that they should use these people, because I haven't even looked at what this is. I think we should do a pay study, it's probably with them, but it's hard for me to vote yes if this is the first time I'm seeing it, as Jeremy's sliding it across. You know?
I saw it earlier today for the first time, Andy,
So,
and.
I mean, I think we got it yesterday.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what, in my opinion, can we wait till Tuesday so we can read through this? So I could know what this is about, so I could see what Mike got from Valpo, like, I think the wage study's an awesome idea, I think we need to do it.
So I'm gonna go with the fact that I do trust the Board of Commissioners. Mike, is this?
That wasn't a comment.
No, I'm saying,
It wasn't a comment.
I
That's
do
not
trust
clear.
them.
Yeah.
And to be clear, the commissioners didn't pick them. HR,
Yeah.
director, through the communications of who does this, who doesn't do this, how well they've done, how many have they done, any up in northern Indiana, is it
Yeah.
all southern, all of that.
And it seems like.
She found that.
Yeah, and it would seem like, maybe there's some out there, but working with 90-some other municipalities, and Mike, they come highly recommended from you, the city of Valpo, use them,
Yep.
and you're using them again.
Yep.
And-
This is also the firm, just for everyone's information, the firm that Prosecutor Gurman sought to review the prosecutor's office. This was quite some time ago, but he got a proposal from them to look at the prosecutor's office specifically. So I know he, based on
I don't think they
his
did that.
experience with them, would be certainly willing to recommend their services as well.
So,
And irregardless of the vote, this isn't gonna be taken up at a commissioner
Right.
meeting for 2 weeks, so.
And we would still have to vote to appropriate the money?
yes,
Oh, then I vote yes.
yes.
Sorry, thank you.
I think, you know, and we talked about this for the last couple of years for sure.
You've talked about this, Mike.
I have, and I stand firm in my feeling years ago, and even more so firm today, as we talk about wages, and we talk about this budgeting process, where we tell the departments, don't put your wage increases or changes into the budget that we're gonna review. We'll cover it at the end of the meeting, kind of as an afterthought, and it should be something that we spend more time and we should be more intentional about the wages for our people, so that we won't have the situation where year after year after year, more than half the departments are requesting special raises because their pay scale is so far from where it ought to be. And this makes it much less subjective and gives everyone an opportunity to know what the pay range should be. And therefore, you can make decisions based on that versus emotionality and the flavor of the month in terms of who feels like they need the most money. So I think it's a great opportunity and a great step forward for the county to take this on.
I think it's a good investment, just not for now, but for long-term investment for the county as well.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out how to fund it. I think we should fund it somehow, some way, or we can work with the commissioners. I think it's.
We can work it out.
Yeah, we can work it out.
It's a tool I think everyone's been waiting for. And to add to it, I guess the last thing I would add is, my understanding, it wasn't just job by job, job description by job description. It was also, by the way, we've been to 98 some odd other places. Here's some other ways to potentially do raises. Because there's more than one way to do it, obviously. So, not saying we'll like any of their ideas, but we'll at least have a person or a company who has been around it enough to say, it's been like this, here's your menu of options to choose from. Because I know that we have, one of the reasons why the way we do is the way we do is we haven't figured out a better way to do it yet. So potentially this could help also.
And it's a significant project. It's gonna, as it's mentioned, 6 to 9 months to do. One of the hesitations, I think, to doing it in the past has been, well, it's such a monumental task, or it's so expensive. And I think as we look at creating a task force perhaps, where, 3 council members who want to participate, a representative from the commissioner's office, of course HR will be intimately involved with it, someone from the auditor's office to be part of this task force, because the consultant, they will need input from us, because it's as much as they're gonna look at it from a statewide issue and a municipality as compared to other municipalities, it's also a very localized thing as well, because all departments in all counties handle things just a little bit differently, and the compensation should be reflected in those differences. And I also think, I know there's been some hesitation historically to doing it, and the challenge is, well, you better be careful what you ask for, because what it may show is that many of our people are woefully underpaid. And I would suggest if that's the case, then we shouldn't be afraid of that. We should embrace it and figure out some way, somehow, to make sure that the pay is appropriate for all the people that work for the county. And so I'm excited about that opportunity.
And I do know that the consultant was very specific in that our department heads and elected officials over departments are going to be integral, because they are going to have to explain, what does Mr. Jessen do in your office? We talked to Mr. Jessen, he said this is his job description. Now from your perspective, what does Mr. Jessen actually do? And then, so it's, part of that 6 to 9 months it really is department by department, so there's going to be a lot of work. And to Mike's point, I would just say, there's gonna be surprises in it. But I guess I don't wanna leave the impression that whatever those surprises are in 2022, that they're gonna necessarily be fixed at the end of 22. Those surprises could very well be enough that it takes multiple years to fix the salary schedule to a way that makes sense in comparison to other like-kind things like us. I don't want to give the impression that if we find out 20 people are woefully underpaid, that we will automatically have the money for that. But it gives us the framework to be able to say, this is how we would potentially get there over time, just like anything else. So the be careful what you wish for situation doesn't mean we're just driving ourselves off the cliff if we get this report back and find out good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, I know enough to know there'll be surprises in it.
And it's something to plan for. I mean, so in some municipalities, I know what they do is they start with a market rate, and then they have a mid-range, and then they have the max. And so you're somewhere in there. And so we could say, you know, after the first year, we're gonna get, we're gonna make sure everyone's at the market rate. And then after 2 years, we wanna make sure everyone's at the mid-rate. And then have some sort of a plan to say that at 2 years, maybe everyone could be at the max rate. And so it allows us the opportunity to plan appropriately, and it's gonna take some foresight and forward thinking to make sure that we think about those things. But what it will eliminate, which is the absolute key to it, it's gonna eliminate the arbitrary approach that we use to salary increases year after year after year, where we decide how much money there is to sprinkle around to the different departments, and arbitrarily, sometimes it's more justified than others, but we arbitrarily, because we don't have that specific information that this study will provide, we make these decisions. And I think we should be more intentional, more thoughtful about those decisions.
And I'd be curious to see what they say when people are overpaid, how they handle that.
Give them more work.
Well, I think we could, I would be shocked to find out that when the city of Valpo did it 4 years ago, not one person was overpaid.
Is that what happened, really?
I'm not, I say I would be shocked to find out that no one was.
Right.
But again, at that point, you don't change, and you don't, it is what it is. but-
And they may perhaps be at the max
And
for
they,
a long
and
period
they
of
may-
time.
and they
Yeah.
may be there, again,
Yeah.
it's not that you say, hey, we just found out we overpaid you $5,000, now you have a $5,000 no,
Right.
it's just.
Right. Yeah,
It's
no,
part
it's
of
something
that.
I'm curious too, yeah.
Yeah. So, however we've done it in the past, again, I'll just reiterate this thing, is how, we've done a good job of staying within our budgets, you know, as we're in a good position, so I think this is just another tool that's gonna help us move forward and try to make some educated decisions. So, Vicki, what do we do to the general fund? Anything
Well,
bad?
let's call the vote.
Oh,
We gotta take a vote, Jeremy?
All in favor of sending a recommendation to the commissioners to engage,
The sheet's back there.
In a wage
What's the
analysis
name?
comprehensive study.
wage analysis comprehensive study, to engage Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So, Vicki, we didn't do too much in the general fund, did we, today?
Oh, they're doing math, now we're
What
in
happened
trouble.
to that 70,000? General fund, doesn't it?
No, that's innkeeper's tax, that's all something different, yeah.
Comes out of their budget.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to, yeah.
What is the total?
I'm excited about that study. It's gonna be really interesting to see what they come
Yeah.
up with.
So, Tiffany, what do we do to the general fund? Nothing, not a whole lot, couple $1,000 increase?
Can't hear you, what'd you say?
So, all right, I don't think we have to wait, Vicky's not, she doesn't wanna talk.
She's not responding.
She's not
It's hard
responding.
to say because you guys added so much money into the sheriff's 9601 location. And that revenue has to be accounted.
They didn't add it yet.
No, all those changes to the sheriff.
No, they didn't do it.
They did that, right?
She's,
What's going on, Vicky? Are we, something we need to do, something we're not doing?
Huh?
You got about $300,000 in this stuff. I got the 1217.
Well, we're not gonna approach it that way though. So what is the total of the general fund right now?
We're about 43,254, so about 318,000 left to spend if you're only increasing $800,000. Does that make sense?
Can you repeat that, please?
So we're shooting for 43,254,565, and right now you are 318,000 away from that. So you got about 318,000 left to spend
That's depressing.
out of that $800,000.
I do want to emphasize, though, regardless of what you decide ultimately, that is up to you. The sheriff federal housing money was not factored into our revenue projections when we put together all of those projections. Because, one, this just sort of came up relatively recently, but for a while there, we were working with the sheriff on possibly putting that new revenue into its own fund. And that idea has all but fizzled out very recently. So the increased money from the federal housing prisoners, depending on how you want to approach it, we could add that to the revenue so that whatever increase you give the sheriff might not, we could say, well, the revenue, it's a wash. We could approach it that way. Unless you want to take the position that, hey, it's money that he brings into the general fund. And we're not going to give him his full amount. It's up to how you want to approach it.
Yeah. There's gonna be,
But when the 800,000 is outside of the sheriff increase. It's probably.
And what's the sheriff projecting again, to bring in? additional?
864,000, roughly.
No, it's right. It's just additional
yes.
Yeah, that's
beyond
it.
what the other was already given, and the cars.
Yes.
All right, so it's not gonna be easy, really, at the end of the day. We've got some tough decisions ahead of us, you guys. We really do. You know, in order for us to protect the general fund, not just this year, but we're really making decisions. Well, this is the 2022 budget, but we're really also making decisions for 2023. So we just gotta be careful. Keep in mind, you know, it's kind of all, it's all relative. It all matters. It all, you know, moving forward. So do additionals every year. But I think we've done a good job this year of keeping that down somewhat, so, but, all right, so we're back here next Tuesday, you guys. Looks like, you know,
Make a motion to adjourn?
the courts, public defender, prosecutor, Tuesday.
sorry.
Thursday's motion, a second on the floor. Has anybody got any further discussion? Anything that you guys might need information, you guys? I mean, Vicky she's here. I just give her a little bit of time. If you guys need some information, please give her a little bit of time. She has great staff that'll put some information together. So, but try to give her a little bit of a lead. So, all right. All in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Did you see this?